Hey guys, I'm bored, so I'm going to put out a public service announcement. Um, there's a lot of channels on the YouTube and a lot of social media in general because of the police accountability movement of these auditors and cop watchers and so on and so forth. And this is something I've been doing way before we had cameras to hold them accountable. So there's some things that you want to know about when you watch these videos to put things in context. Number one, there's a saying that is as old as law enforcement. You can beat the time, you're not going to beat the fucking ride. And what that means is that a cop will put you in jail just to make his life easier. Just to get you out of his face, just to prove a fucking point, just to be an egotistical pig tyrant, whatever the fuck reason, they can put you in jail because they can misconstrue something or half-ass understand something or stretch a law to fit around your head, right? You can beat the time, but you can't beat the ride. If you can beat the time, if you got the money for lawyers to beat the time, right? So that's the first thing. A cop can fucking just put you in jail anyway. And lawsuit, schmawsuit, that ain't gonna matter, and it ain't gonna make his balls sweat. He ain't gonna give a fuck about it. He's just gonna throw the cuffs on. So another thing is, these auditors don't always know what the fuck they're doing. Okay? Number one, if you're out there doing this, if you're out there looking for confrontation with law enforcement, you don't already have a lawyer on retainer, no, I'm not going to donate a penny to your GoFundMe. I'm not going to clickety click, click, click and up your account. I'm not going to do none of that shit because you're an idiot. You're going up against law enforcement without legal representation. You're going up against the entire freaking justice system and you're not bringing a lawyer with you. You're a dummy. And if you're going to go after you've been tased and beat up and arrested and maced and taken the ride, whether you beat the time or not, you're going to take the fucking ride. Then you got to come up with the money for a fucking lawyer. You're already way behind the game. Way behind the game. You think them cops don't have lawyers coming out their yin yang when they leave the house? Don't go playing this game without legal counsel. Another thing is, even the best auditors, okay, guys like Amagansson Press, who gets on my nerves because he talks too much. Long Island Audits is great. Furry Potato, even though she's retired, is one of the greatest ever. And so on and so forth. There's San Joaquin, there's a few of them out there that I got respect for. Very few. Even they need to put a disclaimer in their videos. Do not do what these auditors are doing unless you're ready to get your ass whooped and go to jail. And catch charges. And have those charges stick. Okay? When the law enforcement comes to you, you're not an auditor, you're just Joe Blow on the street, you decide you're going to videotape a traffic stop because you think the dude's yelling at an old lady. So you start filming. That cop walks up to you, you say nothing. Zero. Nothing. You don't have to answer any questions. You don't have to follow unlawful orders. You don't have to let them touch you, put their hands on you, tell you where to go, tell you where to put your hands. If they try to give you orders, the only thing you have to say is, am I being detained? That's it. Am I being detained? If the answer is yes, invoke your Sixth Amendment. That's simple. That's all you have to do. Everybody thinks, oh, I got the Fifth Amendment, the right to remain silent. And this is true. You do have that right. But that doesn't stop them from interrogating you. And if you invoke that right, and then later you answer questions, they can use that as evidence of your unreliable statements that you're a liar. But if you invoke your Sixth Amendment, which among other things ensures you the right to not be questioned or interrogated without legal counsel present. I want my lawyer. Period. End of story. Don't play that game with them. You are not going to argue your way, talk your way, spin your way out of anything that a police officer wants to do to you. The only thing you can do is not give them evidence. Any kind. There is no such thing as a conversation with a cop. If there's a cop, the minute they punch in, they are investigating each and every person they see and encounter throughout the entire day. No matter how they think about it, how they feel about it, that is what they're doing. That is their job, to investigate and find crime. There is no rational reason for a rational person to talk to the police about anything ever without a lawyer. Because a police officer's only job is to gather evidence against you. The cop's job is not to exonerate you. It is not to protect you. It is not to serve you for fucking sure. It is to gather evidence against you. Whether you're a criminal or a law-abiding citizen or somewhere in between. That's the cop's only job. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used in a court of law against you. Period. That's the cop's only purpose, is to gather evidence against you. So don't talk to him. There is no need to talk to him. Ever. And if what you're trying to do, if you're watching these videos and you're seeing this stuff and you're wanting to get involved with using this as a tool to deal with the problem, then get behind the people that are doing it right. Get behind the people that are having an effect, that are actually changing laws. Batusai, Philip Turner, okay? He fought his shit on his dime all the way through to the fucking Supreme Court of Texas. Won his case, Philip versus Driver, or Turner versus Driver, and it's been accepted in I don't know how many other circuit courts and now as precedent. Our right to film the police. There's all these other cases. We have the right to do it. So if you're encountered by these people, if these people come at you, these police officers, and it doesn't matter if they think they're a good person, if you think they're a good person, if they fart rainbows and give 80% of their income to little orphans with one leg or what the fuck ever. Their job is to gather evidence against you. That's it. And enforce policy and law on you with violence. That's their only jobs. Is if they gather evidence that you have committed a crime, enforce the laws, the policies behind that law with violence if needed. So there is nothing to gain from ever talking to the cops about anything ever without your lawyer there. Ever. Never talk to the cops without your phone on. Record. It's your First Amendment right, and it will save you. I cannot tell you the number of times I've watched a cop's attitude go when he saw the camera. Because those cameras they wear on their chest are as useless as tits on a poor hog. They're a PR device that they use. Every department, every state, every time there is clear-cut evidence of violent crimes being carried out by out-of-control police officers on the body cams, the people have to pay and fight and fight and fight and pay and fight all the way to the Supreme Courts of that state to get that fucking body cam footage. Me or you aren't going to get a major crime case. You're going to need lawyers and you're going to need money and you're going to need the ACLU to sue and go through the superior just to get body cams. You got one. Film them. Because the more we film them and the more we shut up when they try to fucking incriminate us, the more we just point out just how fucked up they are. And I hear this shit every day from people. Oh, my brother-in-law's a cop, and he's a good guy, and he cares about his community, and he loves his community. There was people in Germany that were doing the same thing in 1939 that loved their community, that were just following fucking orders. Sorry about your brother-in-law. No matter how fucking nice they are, if they enforce the tyrannical laws of a corrupt government, they are the violent tool of tyranny. Fact. So this is my thing. You watch these videos and you see this movement that's happening and Black Lives Matter and all of this, and you might want to get involved in this, and you should. But you need to understand before you do that when you get involved in something like this, you are taking on an insurgent standing army that has been installed in our country and that is owned and operated by corporations who want to protect their own bottom lines. And that's it. That's what they do. Whether it's the prison industrial complex or the anybody you name. If it's Walmart, if it's Coca-Cola, if it's whatever it is, go rob a Verizon store, go rob a store in a ghetto and see the difference in the investigations. That's all you fucking need to know. Call 911 from the ghetto, call 911 from one of these fancy neighborhoods and see the difference in responses you can get. That's all you fucking need to know about cops and the legal system and who they're here to protect. It's not we the people. Every cop on the force, every cop that's been to the academy has been trained from day one that they went into training to be a cop of how to circumvent, to go around, to subterfuge their way through the constitutional rights in each of every American that they come up to. I need to see your ID, sir. I need it. I need to see your ID. The law gives me the right to ask for your ID. I need to see it. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, fuck you. The Fourth Amendment allows me to be free from unreasonable searches. And unless you can articulate reasonable, constitutionally reasonable suspicion, motherfucker, not just random suspicion that you got in your head, constitutionally reasonable suspicion that I've committed a crime, then you are my servant. You need to get back in your fucking Barney Fife-mobile and fuck off. End of story. But when you do that, you're taking on an army of insurgents, violent, armed, powerful, criminal insurgents. Every study ever done, the Mullen Report, the Knapp Report, the Taft Report, the fucking UN reports, the Amnesty International reports, the Human Rights Watch, every report ever done clearly shows mountains of evidence that law enforcement and the criminal justice system is the single biggest, single oldest, and most successful, most powerful criminal organization in the country. During Prohibition, 80% of the alcohol was run by motherfucking cops. During the drug war, the CIA's bringing in cocaine and heroin and fucking everything else. We got an opium epidemic. We invade Afghanistan. The fucking opium production goes up in the number one opium producing country in the world by 900% in 20 years' time. We're important. And you put him in prison. Here, have some. No, go to prison. Here, have. What the fuck? And these cops carry this tyranny out. It's unbelievable. It's un-American. It's unfree. Well, it's not un-American. America's always been this corrupt. But if you're going to go up against these people, know they're an army. And they're an army that has access to you and your life and your shit and your background and your everything. And they will weaponize the law against you. It looks like a game on YouTube. There's all kinds of ways to die when you're fucking around with the cops. Black, white, brown, yellow, gay, straight. It don't matter, man. Cops will oppress anybody they have the ability to oppress. Which means any loophole, any slack in qualified immunity, any ordinance they can twist against you, that's what they're going to do. Because that's their job. And there's no leash on them. There's no accountability. There's no... What would the cops do if they come up to me and go, hey, we think you robbed the liquor store? And I went, I investigated myself and found that, no, I didn't. Fuck off. And that's what we have with this fucking blue ISIS. The fucking Blue Klux Klan, man. And it's been here since day one. When Thomas Jefferson and James Madison wrote those words, we the people hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, they owned slaves. And they needed a security force between them and the slaves. Because of the words that they wrote in the Constitution that they were famous for writing, they knew they were going to need to enforce the parentheses. We the white people hold these truths to be self-evident that all white people are created equal. Specifically, white males. And that's the truth. That's where the police come from. That's what the police do today. Okay, slavery turned into Jim Crow and segregation, turned into, oh boy, there's a lot of white people that are starting to sympathize with the plight of these black people, especially since we blew up Black Wall Street, and then the 60s came, and now we're going to have to oppress white people and Mexican people. Add them into the bunch. Okay, drug war, boom. Just another step in oppression, right from the Constitution to today. All they have done is broaden the scope of their oppression. When white people en masse started to speak up about the racism in the government in the 60s, what happened? The government found a way to criminalize those people. Richard Nixon openly admitted that they intentionally misinterpreted the constitutionality of the drug laws to control black people and Mexicans and hippies. All cops are bastards. Their purpose has been bastardized. Most cops, most guys that turned into officers in the Nazi army didn't set out to do that. Anyway, I just want you to be knowing that in this day of information, when everything is so readily available, you can't get separated from the reality of what's going to happen if you're one of these people who decide to go out there and confront armed insurgents in our country. Know what you're doing ahead of time. Hindsight might be 20/20, but it might be 18-20 when you're fucking with the cops. So, no hindsight. Stay on it ahead. Just a bit of advice.